Hi everybody. We were just checking if the live was actually working out or not, but it actually is. Anyway, I'm Rebecca Lee. I'm the creator of the Gallery of Anna May Wong, and I also run the Anna May Wong fan page on. Oh, is it not working? Okay. I also run the Anna May Wong fans page on Instagram, and this is Katie.
Hi everyone, I'm Katie Gee Salisbury. I'm the author of a new biography about Anna May Wong, which you can see just behind me. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Anna May Wong Book. And I write a monthly newsletter about Anna May Wong as well called Half Caste Woman. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Rebecca.
Of course, yeah. Um, Hi Ted. Hi Philip. Hi Lily.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So before we get any questions, I actually had a question for Katie.
Oh, okay.
So my question would be, yesterday we watched Pavement Butterfly at the MoMA in New York. So that's the modern Museum of Modern Art, right, in New York. So I was wondering, what was your first impression of the movie when you first saw it? Not yesterday, but when you first saw it.
The first time I saw it.
Yeah.
So the first time I watched Pavement Butterfly was actually like in a basement viewing room at the British Film Institute in London. And unfortunately, I had to watch it on a VHS copy, which wasn't very good. So it was a very small screen. So I watched it on a very small screen, and it was like a very grainy copy. But I think I remember feeling like it was very magical because I got to see Anna May Wong in this kind of role and in Europe and in the way she was dressed, and she was the lead role. And also I think in Pavement Butterfly, it's one of the few films where she has a romantic interest who actually, in my opinion, was handsome, but also you felt like there was a real connection between them, and like you could see the romance between them seemed very realistic, and so I was actually really rooting for them to like be together. Yeah. The first time I saw it, but yeah, it was just like very magical, and like it was definitely more bohemian and also funny, but dramatic at times. Right. And like her costumes are really fun. But just the range of emotions that she was able to like put on screen were really astounding compared to some of the more stereotypical roles she had to play in Hollywood. Right. Yeah. Thank you for your answer. It's really detailed. We're gonna try to check the messages as we go. Does anybody have any questions for us? And also, we had questions before it started, so let me see. I think the first question was from Philip, and he wanted to know, or not really a question, but he was just inquiring about whether we had any information about like Anna May Wong's siblings, brothers and sisters, particularly Mary, her younger sister. Particularly Mary. Yeah. Well, I will say that all of Anna May Wong's siblings probably at one time or another were involved with her film business. They helped out in various ways. So Lulu, her older sister, was kind of like, well, they were best friends growing up. They were very close in age, and they kind of took care of each other. So when she started getting famous, oftentimes Lulu would travel with her. So in 1925, when she was on the Cosmics tour, which went awry because they ran out of money, and they weren't making enough money at their shows, Lulu was actually there with her. And then when she went to Europe for the first time, Lulu was with her and like acted kind of as her manager and like administrator, was like secretary. Like she would do her appointments, but also kind of manage the money. So, and then later on, her younger brother, James Wong, Jimmy, she called him, also got involved. I think at one point he was even her chauffeur.
Oh, really?
Because, Anna May Wong was not the best driver. So I think he got involved as her chauffeur and might have been involved in some other film stuff. Yeah. Like he would, for example, when she was working on Shanghai Express, she actually spent an evening going through the script with Jimmy together. And they were trying to make improvements to it to make it a little bit more realistic and probably also more realistic in terms of like what Chinese people would actually say or do.
Right.
So he kind of helped her with that, and was also very instrumental during her trip in China because he had already been living there and working there. And Mary was Anna May Wong's younger sister. She, especially like in the late 1930s, became her stand-in at Paramount. So probably many of you have seen those photos of them together posed in like similar costumes. I think on the set of What Is Dangerous to Know.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was her stand-in. And I think that Mary, I mean, there's not a lot of documented information about Mary, unfortunately, but I think that probably she did have some aspirations to be in the films, to act. And then, as many of you know, she was cast as the young bride in The Good Earth. So she did, get kind of a prominent role in that film. And so many of Anna May Wong's family, so her father, maybe in like 1934, went back to China, and the whole family except for Anna May Wong, they all went on a trip to China. And I think Jimmy might have stayed then, and her father stayed in China. And then later on, a lot of them went to China to work.
And just sorry to interrupt, but Jimmy is James, right?
Yes, James.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think that more commonly that they called him Jimmy, but it's James Wong, her younger brother.
Oh, okay.
James Norman Wong.
Yeah.
So around like 1938-39, when Japan attacked China and the beginning of that war started, the Second Sino-Japanese War, as that got worse and worse, most of her family had to figure out a way to get back to the U.S. to get out of China. So I think Mary and Anna May Wong was very concerned about them there because, people were dying, there were bombs. I mean, it's a lot of like what's going on right now in the world. So she was very concerned about them.
Yeah.
And Mary came back to the U.S., I think, in like the winter of 1937. And then, as many of you know, unfortunately, several years later, I believe it was 1940, or it might be 1940. I think it's 1940.
Yeah.
Mary died by suicide. What I know about that is basically what was written in the papers at the time, and that she was living at a house in Los Angeles. I think that Anna May Wong might have bought for her family, but she was living there with Lulu and her father, and they were having lunch one day. And I don't know if they had a disagreement or what was spoken about, but after lunch, about an hour later, when a cleaning lady arrived at their house, she found Mary, and she was dead. And it was a huge shock to everyone in the family. Yeah. And as you can imagine, it was a very private and painful thing for the family, so they never really spoke much about it.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah.
But thank you for the question, and sorry if that was a very long answer.
Yeah, sorry, everybody. We're trying to go through the chat and the comments to we'll answer them as they
as they come in.
As they come in. Yeah, as they arrive. Good morning, Emily, Nicole. Hi, Saigo and Joe. Hi, Jim. Hi, John. Oh, okay. Philip asks, is it true Mary took her life?
As far as we know, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Emily Nicole asks, what do you think are the 3 best films to start with for understanding Anna May Wong as a star?
As a star?
Yeah.
Good question. Well, so it's it's a little complicated because part of it is also like which films are the easiest to access because not all of them are available. Like we had to go to a screening here. I mean, Rebecca came across the country to see a screening of Pavement Butterfly, which unfortunately, you might be able to find it on the Gallery of Anna May Wong, actually. But normally is very difficult to find. What I usually tell people the best films to start with, in my opinion, which are kind of like easy entry, is start with The Toll of the Sea, 1922 film. Second film to be made in Technicolor. Anna May Wong plays the lead, and it's public domain. It's available on YouTube, on many different places on the internet. It's very easy to find. So that's a great one to find. And Anna May Wong is 17 in that film, so it's kind of incredible how amazing her performance is. The second one I would suggest is Piccadilly, which is, or if you, I would say either Piccadilly, any of her first European films. So Piccadilly, which was made in London, or if now that you can probably go find a copy of Pavement Butterfly that was made in Germany and France. So either of those silent films would be an excellent introduction to her work, especially because those films, she had to basically leave Hollywood to get another leading role. And so these films give her leading roles, and she has a lot of screen time, which is really amazing. And then the third film I would recommend is Shanghai Express, which is a Paramount film with Marlene Dietrich. So Anna May Wong is not the lead, but she does have an incredible role. I wish she had more screen time, but it is a really fun film. So I think it gives you a good contrast between the other, between her European films and then like her very earliest silent film, like The Toll of the Sea. So it's a good introduction.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Let me see. I'm reading through all the comments. And let's see.
Oh, I was just also going to tell you, I don't know if it's ended up streaming on the other.
Oh, yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I think it's okay. We can repost it.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Just a logistical issue.
Yeah. Lily asks, how do you start researching for a biography you intend to write?
That's a really great question. Well, when I started this project, I naively did not realize I was writing a biography. I think if I had, I might not have written it because it's a lot of work. But really, and also a lot of gratitude goes to some of the earlier biographers like Graham Russell Hodges, Shirley Lim, Anthony B. Chan. They laid a lot of the groundwork. So one way that I started was looking at their citations and looking at some of the sources that they had found. So I started there. Luckily I'm based in New York, so there's a lot of resources here. I was able to go to the Yale Library, which has Anna May Wong's correspondence with Carl Van Vechten. So that was one of the first pieces of research I did. And then you just kind of keep expanding. So it's a combination of like reading a lot of books about filmmaking, about the period, other Hollywood stars' memoirs. Anna May Wong also wrote a lot of pieces in magazines, in Hollywood magazines, and was interviewed a lot. So I've done a lot of, well, the great thing is that a lot of newspapers and magazines are all digitized now. So I was able to do a lot of internet research, just searching through, like, I have probably like thousands of documents.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I have like many there's file boxes behind me. There's some over there. So I have a lot of clippings of newspapers and magazines. And then, it was going to various archives around the country and the world. So I went to BFI to watch some of her rare European films. And then, like in Los Angeles, I spent about a month at the Academy Library, where I was going through not only things related to Anna May Wong, but files for a lot of her films, files for The Good Earth, actually, I looked at a lot, which plays a big role in the book. So, and then, for example, I went to an archive at Berkeley where they have a Chinese movie magazine collection, and I'm not completely literate in Chinese, and these were also in traditional Chinese, which is not what I learned how to read. I learned simplified.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
They only allowed me, I would scan them using my phone, and I just knew what Anna May Wong's name looked like in Chinese.
So I think it's the same in simplified.
Yes, right? It's the same. And so I would just scan through the pages and look for her name, scan the pages, and then I had a translator, I had someone to transcribe them, change it into simplified, and then translate it. And so it was a very complicated.
Wow, that's actually pretty clever. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was
grateful for her name.
I was grateful that at least I could read that much. So otherwise, I would have been at a total loss.
Right.
So, So, anyways, the research process is very involved. I mean, I've worked on this book for probably 4 years. So it's a kind of gradual process where you just chip away. At different things over time.
Okay, let me see what else we have. John Rambo says good morning from San Diego.
Good morning.
Tom Shane says good morning.
Hi, Tom.
Let's see. Sorry, I'm moving back and forth. me see. Trying to read all the comments. Okay. And I think going back, Lily says Pavement Butterfly is a really amazing movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Let me see. I'm trying to read all the comments, guys. That's why I'm so close to the screen. Oh, yeah. John Rambo asks, did Anna May Wong meet Louise Brooks? And how could the two have missed crossing paths? What do you suppose Anna May Wong thought of Louise Brooks?
These are great questions that I've actually wondered myself. I recently read a book by Louise Brooks called Lulu in Hollywood, where I think she wrote a lot of it's a collection of essays that she wrote about her time in Hollywood. So she writes about working at UFA and making Pandora's Box, and I think what was the other film? Diary of
a Lost Girl.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Diary of a Lost Girl. So they were certainly both at UFA at the same time in 1928 and 1929. So it's hard to imagine that they didn't meet, and I'm sure they knew of each other. But I've never seen either of them mentioning each other in print, so I don't know if they just kind of said hello and that were just polite and they didn't seem to be good friends in any way, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
The other thing is that Louise, I should say, she was having an affair with this older, I can't remember if he was some type of producer or something, but he was with her in Berlin. So she was actually really hanging out with him constantly, to the point where the director G.W. Pabst was like, you have to stop going out every night. Because I want you to be like focused on the film. And I think when that man left, then she became more focused. But I'm imagining that she was spending a lot of her free time with him, so she wasn't hanging out with anyone else. But yeah, it is interesting that I don't know if I have no idea if they didn't like each other or what. I think the interesting thing too is that I think it was kind of known that like Louise Brooks' career kind of ended after. I mean, she did do more films, but she didn't have a very long career. It was like maybe I think like a decade or something or 15 years max, maybe. Whereas Anna May Wong worked until she died, and a lot of what people said about Anna May Wong when she came back to the U.S. was like, wow, she's signing a new contract with Paramount, and everyone wants her, and she's in a play, hit play, and so people really were in awe of how she came back this very triumphant actress, and everyone wanted her, which I do not think was the same for Louise Brooks.
Oh, that's interesting.
Unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, they had very different attitudes towards their work. Louise Brooks, I think, never took acting very seriously. Because she studied to be a dancer, so I think she kind of fell into acting and thought she never liked Hollywood either. She thought Hollywood was kind of stupid, and I think she was a very intelligent woman and very funny, but she just didn't take her work as an actress very seriously. Whereas I think Anna May Wong, it was like it was the thing that she wanted to do most in life.
She was married to it.
Yes, yeah. So they also had different attitudes towards their work.
Great answer. Let me see. Okay. Let me see. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to read through all the comments. Let me see. Okay. Ted's question is, I hope I word this properly. Yun T. Wong recently released an Anna May Wong bio, Daughter of the Dragon, in 2023. Was there any trepidation on the timing of the release of your book?
Good question. Yeah. Yes, there was a little trepidation, I suppose. I mean, I've been working on this book for, as I mentioned, like 5 years. So it's been a very long-term process. I guess I was surprised because I learned of Yunta Huang's book maybe about a year before it came out. So I was very caught off guard because I didn't know that he'd been working on it for almost the same amount of time as me. And I did I did talk to my agent and my publisher, and I was like, let's move up my book. Let's move up the pub date. Because at that point, I had finished the manuscript, and they talked me out of it. Which I'm actually glad that they did, because they felt like there was we wouldn't gain anything by rushing the book.
Right.
And then I realized that 2024 is actually, it's going to be Year of the Dragon soon.
Oh, yeah.
And Year of the Dragon is also Anna May Wong's year. And in fact, I don't know the importance of this, but there's, even within the Chinese zodiac, some years will be like I think I'm a year of the ox. The last year of the ox was like the iron ox.
Oh.
So each time it comes up, it's a different element as well.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, I don't know what what it means.
Right.
But this year is the wood dragon. And I believe that Anna May Wong is also a wood dragon.
Oh.
So I realized that this year is her year. And that if my book is coming out this year, then I think that's kismet, like it's meant to be.
It's very auspicious.
Yes, very auspicious, yes.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that question, Ted. Let me see, what's the next one? Lily says Piccadilly is my favorite film of hers. And Philip said, I was at MoMA yesterday, and I think Pavement Butterfly is my new favorite, and her first film is just unbelievably great.
Yeah. I think a lot of people left so impressed by it.
And let's see. Emily Nicole says, thank you for the racks. Excited to check them out. Tom Shane says, I've seen the famous photographs of Marlene Dietrich, Anna May Wong, and Leni Riefenstahl, how do you say her last name? Riefenstahl, together at a party. When did it occur? I see different dates and descriptions. Thanks.
Yes, yeah, and I think, Tom, I've written about this previously. It was definitely a little bit of a mystery to figure that out. So as I was doing a lot of my research, I created a timeline. So every time I would learn where Anna May Wong was at a certain time, I would write it down, like, this date she's in Berlin, arrives in Berlin or whatever. And so I couldn't figure out the date of that famous photo of Marlene Dietrich, Anna May Wong, and Leni Riefenstahl in Berlin. And there was also a lot of confused information. So most photo, like, even like think Getty or whoever, I think it might be whoever owns the photograph has also misdated it. Most people say it's 1928 and that it's the Berlin Press Ball. So just to step back a little bit, in Berlin during that time, normally like the Carnival time, which is like Lent or right before Lent in the Catholic calendar, which would be like January, February, is when they'd have all these like crazy balls, like kind of like a Mardi Gras type of thing. You just like go all out before, like you're supposed to be like very pious. So became like a very big thing in Berlin in the late 1920s. So I knew that if people said that the photo was taken in 1928, it couldn't have been true, because Anna May Wong didn't arrive in Germany until April. So she would have missed the ball season. Right. So I knew that timing didn't make sense, but I had to figure out, was it 1929 or was it 1930? And as I did more research about it, there's photos from that same evening. There's a couple other photos from that evening. And in one of them, we see Marlene Dietrich and Joseph von Sternberg. So they didn't meet until maybe like September 1929. And that's when they started working together to film The Blue Angel. So, and then the photographer so I knew that I was getting closer to something. Maybe it's 1930, because they didn't meet until 1929. And then the photographer himself, who also misremembered the date, but he did say this one detail was that he had taken the photo right after Marlene and Joseph von Sternberg had finished making that film, The Blue Angel. So they finished making that film in January 1930. And that also, so that fit with the timing of when they have the balls in Berlin. So the missing piece actually came from someone on the internet. I believe her name's Alexandra, and she came to me. She had found my blog because she was doing research at the Met here in New York, and they actually have a collection of these magazines that were created by the Ryman Art School in Berlin. And so she found the issue that came out after the ball that they had, and it had the famous photo of them.
Oh, wow.
From like February 1930. So she found the missing piece and she brought it to me, and so that kind of confirmed everything that I was piecing together.
Oh, wow.
So now we know that the photo was taken probably February 1930 in Berlin at the Zoo im Palast. I think it's like the zoological. It's like this giant, like dance hall place in Berlin, and where where the Ryman Art School was throwing their party, because their party was this very bohemian. Like, it was always a costume party. Everyone made their own costumes because they're very artistic. And so it was actually a very popular, it was like a place to go to be seen. So everyone wanted to go to that party. Right. So that's when and where it happened. But yeah, thank you for asking the question.
Yeah, that was a very, very detailed answer. Let me see. Saigon Joe says Paramount did not acknowledge her acting potential. They exploited her ethnicity, but not her quality as an actor. Comment?
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated, right? Because on the one hand, she made a lot of her films at Paramount, so they're the closest she ever had to having like a home studio. So yeah, I think they wanted to capitalize on her popularity without actually giving her, I mean, they did give her more influence over her films later on, but those films were like slated as B films, right? So they didn't get the budgets that
they were like 60 minutes or so.
Right, and so the resources she had were much less, but she I think she did a lot with what she had. But I think the biggest miss probably is when she came back from Europe and they signed her up to do Daughter of the Dragon. And that film, I mean, I really, personally, I don't like that film at all. Because, I mean, what, do you like it, or?
Well, when I first watched it, I was kind of like, well, this is kind of campy and whatnot. But I think she kind of gets into it, and she works with the campiness, and I don't feel like it's that bad of a movie, but I don't rank it as her top.
Yeah. I guess I think I soured on it a little just because it's a Fu Manchu film. But I agree. Like, if you can enjoy it for the campiness and like if you don't take it seriously, then it's kind of fun and funny. Because obviously, like, her lines are so ridiculous. Like, it's like she's lusting for blood and and
it's technically a pre-code film.
Oh yeah, right. Because it's 1931. Yeah, and the one great thing about that film, though, is her costumes are incredible because it's Travis Banton. And so I think the miss with that film is that they signed her up because everyone was like, oh, Anna May Wong, you know, and they're like, oh, well, I guess we gotta get her back. Yeah. So we'll give you this leading role, but then we'll make it this like really bad script. Like this kind of really cheesy thing. Like, we won't make it something more elevated like what Marlene Dietrich would get, you know, for her first Hollywood film. Right. And so I think it was almost like doomed to fail because I think they put a lot of money behind it. Like, I've seen the marketing materials that they created. I mean, it's like they put a lot of work into it, and I think it probably didn't perform the way they expected it to. And then, you know, she got the role in Shanghai Express, and that like fulfilled her 2-film contract, and then they didn't re-sign her until the end of the decade. Right. So I think it was unfortunate because it was like, in my eyes, it was the studio's fault, not her fault. But I think the way they interpreted how the film did was like, oh, she's just not that popular.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Thanks for that question, Joe. Let's see. Jeannie says, love hearing the research process. I think I mispronounced your name. Sorry. More on Louise Brooks. John said, I never seen a photo of Anna May Wong and Louise Brooks together. Were they contemporaries?
Oh, they were definitely contemporaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never seen a photo of them together either, but they were contemporaries. I think that Louise Brooks was probably born around 1907.
I'm not really
Something like that. I mean, Anna May Wong was born in 1905.
Mm-hmm.
So Louise Brooks probably got into films a little bit later than Anna May Wong. But they were certainly contemporaries. But Louise Brooks she started in New York. So she started when there were still a lot of studios in New York. So I think her first films were made in New York, and then eventually she moved out to Hollywood. But she wasn't, like I said, she didn't take movies or Hollywood very seriously. So I think she was kind of difficult to work with, and that's probably why she didn't do as many films.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Lily says Lulu in Hollywood is like the quintessential memoir, or so I've been told. Do you agree?
Quintessential, like, Hollywood memoir?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend reading it. It's really fun. You get a lot of good gossip.
Thomas said, just a note, I'm watching on YouTube, Facebook Live, or whatever doesn't seem to work. Thanks, John Rambo, for direct link to YouTube. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I'm having technical difficulties with the technology. Let me see. Who's a director Anna May Wong never worked with you wish she had?
Well, I mean, Hitchcock was, I mean, he didn't become famous until much later in his career, but they were both working at Elstree Studios in like 1929. So just because I know that they were in kind of the same area, I always thought, like, wouldn't that have been cool to see Anna May Wong in a Hitchcock film? But if you've read Hitchcock's Blondes, he was probably obsessed with blonde women. So I guess maybe that would have never worked out. But in my head, like, imagining her in a Hitchcock film sounds really cool to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are there other directors you think that she would have? I mean, I would have loved to have seen her in more Joseph von Sternberg films, because I think they worked together really well, and I think he clearly knew how to direct her because he got such great performances out of her. Yeah.
You know who I was thinking? Ernest Lubitsch, or how do you say his name?
Lubitsch? Oh, Lubitsch?
Yeah, Lubitsch. I think she would have worked really well with him because there's like some form of comedy.
Yeah. It would have been really fun to see her in some comedies, because people don't realize she was a very funny person.
She was. I think earlier in her career she had a lot of comedies, but sadly a lot of them were lost. Yeah. So we don't see a lot of it. So it seems like she's like serious all the time in all her movies, and she's this tragic romantic figure.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, she was supposed to be in one of those Laurel and Hardy shorts.
Yeah, she was.
But her part got cut out.
Yeah. But she was also in another one, The Honorable Mr. Bugs.
Oh, okay.
And it was available on YouTube for a short while.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that was also a lost film.
Technically it's not lost. It's owned by a private owner.
Oh, so only the private owner has a copy of it?
Yeah, but they uploaded it to YouTube at one point, but I didn't get a chance to see it.
Oh, okay.
Because they uploaded when I wasn't checking.
Oh, that's too bad. Do you know who the private owner is?
I do not. But I could probably check the silent film forums.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like a mystery.
Yeah.
A lot of things. Yeah. And that was Emily's question that we just answered. Let me see. Why is this not going? Okay. John says, thanks, can't wait to read your book.
Thank you.
And then John says, glad you're connected, Tom. Let me see. Okay. I've heard of an Anna May Wong biopic, have you? And that's his film, Philip.
Yes. Yeah. So there is a biopic that's supposedly in process. Gemma Chan is one of the producers, and she's also, I believe, going to play Anna May Wong. And then Nina Bongiovi is producing as well, and David Henry Hwang, the famous playwright, is writing the screenplay. So I know that it's in process. I mean, I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. I haven't
recently
either.
about where they are in that process, but hopefully it will come to fruition in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I hope so. Because I actually follow the producer on.
Oh,
she
yeah.
follows me back, so like,
Oh, nice.
I tagged her, but she liked the comment, but she didn't respond about
Oh.
the process, the progress of the film.
Yeah, I'm sure that they want to keep that kind of
under wraps.
Yeah, under wraps for now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, also a question about the biopic from Jeannie. Yes, what's the latest on the biopic?
Oh, yeah.
I think same answer.
Yeah, we all want to know.
Yeah.
You guys will know as soon as I know.
Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Katori? I think that's how, sorry if I butchered your name. How do you think she would have felt about Michelle Yeoh's past year?
Oh, I mean, I think Anna May Wong would have been so elated to see her win an Oscar. I'm sure she was, looking down from heaven and weeping. Like the rest of us. I think it's been really, really incredible to see just how much, it's like good and bad at the same time, right? Because on the one hand, we're all happy to finally see an Asian woman win Best Actress. But it also took 95 years. Yeah, it took way too long. Took way too long. And knowing that Anna May Wong was in Hollywood from the beginning, why should it take that long? Right? Yeah. And that was only the second time a woman of color has actually won Best Actress. So it's just Michelle Yeoh and Halle Berry. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times I've heard Michelle Yeoh speak about. I mean, the way she even spoke about her role in Everything Everywhere All at Once, she said, I read this script and finally they understood that I could be all of these things. I could be funny and sad and, angry and crazy and like I could be human, like not just a, stereotypical character. And it just, when Michelle Yeoh said that, it really resonated with me because it felt like something that Anna May Wong would say. And
then I think I brought this up before, but one of the lines in the movie is something about laundry and taxes.
Oh,
yeah, that one. In another life, I would. Was it again? I forgot what it was. In another life, I would love to do a laundry and taxes video or something like that. Oh, right, yeah. I don't remember the exact line. Sorry if I'm butchering your favorite movie.
Well, and then there's a connection to, which I didn't even think about, is that they're running a laundromat.
Exactly, that's why I thought it was a callback to Anna May Wong,
Right. Yeah, I mean, either subconsciously or not, it's there, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically the daughter's like a laundry person's daughter. So that's why I was like, oh.
Daughter of immigrants.
Daughter of immigrants, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, connections. Let me see. Hopefully thank you for that question. Oh, okay. This is from Lily as well.
Okay.
She said, how do you feel about the intentionally revisionist history / fiction like the delayed raise of a star or Netflix's Hollywood?
Yeah, that's a complicated question. I will actually say I haven't read Delayed Raise of a Star. I've only kind of flipped through it. And I actually have not watched all of Hollywood either. I watched the first episode that the Anna May Wong character's in. I didn't watch the one where she wins the Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
I do know, I mean, I have mixed feelings about it because on the one hand, it's great that they're featuring her story. I think in the case of Hollywood, it's a little bit annoying because I think people don't realize that didn't happen. Like, you can actually... A common question, I think, on Google is, did Anna May Wong win an Oscar?
Yeah, I saw that. And I was like...
Yeah, so I think people need to know that she didn't win an Oscar. She was never even nominated for an Oscar. She's never even given a role that could be Oscar-worthy, really. I don't think
she was even nominated for any acting awards either. Like, not any.
No. Yeah. So, I mean, I think... On the one hand, like I appreciate the sentiment of wanting to revise history to something that is more just, but then I don't want people to think that that's actually what happened, because it's not. And it's important to remember what did happen or didn't happen.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think exploring her life in fiction, you know, is an interesting, and a lot of other authors have done it, and I think it's always really fascinating. I'm trying to think. It's like, I think it's there's a book called The Fortunes, which is,
oh, I think I've heard of that.
yeah, it follows 4 different Chinese Americans. It's fiction, and one section is devoted to Anna May Wong, and I actually really appreciaed that one because it explored. He imagined her on her trip to China, and he imagined her having like a romantic affair with Newsreel Wong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is the guy who, you know, filmed her travels there.
Yeah.
So I thought that was actually really fascinating. I love that. I mean, it didn't happen.
Yeah, right. It didn't happen.
And just as, like, you know, there's another book too. It's called, I'm trying to think of it. It's Screen Siren.
Oh, yeah, I heard of that one.
Yeah. That one.
I didn't read it, though. But
yeah, I've read that one. It's a lot more speculative, but and it's, the character is not Anna May Wong. It's because I think Anna May Wong is even mentioned in the book.
Oh, really?
But it's clearly based on her.
Right.
Like, a lot of things are taken from her life. And so I thought that, but because it was such a departure, I thought it was very interesting as well. So I think it's fun to explore, for sure.
Right. Let me see what other questions we have. Okay. Let me see. Another question from Emily Nicole. She said, this is probably a silly question, but what's something little you discovered you and Anna May Wong have in common during your research? Example, my favorite is Grace Kelly, and we share the same favorite flower.
Oh. So, well, I mean, I actually read a little bit about this in the preface to the book, which is where, like, I talk about my personal connection to her. So I guess there was a couple things. I mean, I grew up in a suburb of Los Angeles, and the Chinese side of my family has always been a part of, like, Chinatown in LA and Los Angeles. So when I first learned about Anna May Wong, I definitely felt a kinship with her because our families were and grown up in LA and been involved in Chinatown. And, you know, even growing up in a suburb, Hollywood is kind of always on your mind, or it's like nearby, or you see movie sets or actors.
Yeah.
So there was that. And then learning that she is also from the same place in southern China that my family is from, definitely struck a chord with me. And the way that she traveled, you know, by herself in all these European countries and in Asia, which is kind of, I spent a lot of my 20s traveling. So I've been to a lot of the same cities as her. And then when I watched the documentary she made of her travels in China, there's a part where she goes back to her father's village to see her father. And it's just, like, very beautiful. And you see, like, the rice fields and like a couple years ago, I was able to go back to southern China where my grandma is from. So when I watched her documentary, it felt so familiar to my own experiences. So it was, like, really meaningful to me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. Let me see. Next question. Tom Shane says, thumbs up for the info on the photo, especially date and publication info photo. Lily says, I get confused between the Daughter of the Dragon and Daughter of Shanghai. One is good camp and the other one is bad camp.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. John says, she threw herself into Daughter of the Dragon regardless. I like it. You could see her effort. Yeah.
Good point.
Jeannie says, I'm excited about the release and love all the info you're sharing. What events do you have coming up for the launch? Book tour?
Thanks for asking, Jenny. Hi. I know her.
Oh, am I mispronouncing her name?
No, I think it's Jen. I think it's Jenny. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a bunch of events. I do need to update my website. NotYourChinaDoll.com will have updates of the events. But in New York, so right now, I'm mostly focusing on New York and California, and then we'll probably spread out a little bit after that to other places. But New York, we have a bunch of events here. There's a Books and Burlesque event. I'll be doing kind of like a book launch party. We're doing a screening of Daughter of Shanghai at the Metrograph. And then we'll have an event at the Strand Bookstore. And then in Los Angeles, I'm doing something at Zibby's bookstore, actually with Lisa Ling, which is very exciting.
Oh, Lisa Ling.
In Santa Monica.
Oh.
And then we'll have an event at the Chinese American Museum in Los Angeles, which is actually where I first learned about Anna May Wong. Mm-hmm. And then also an event at Vroman's. And then we're going to do a film screening of Piccadilly in San Francisco. So those things are set right now, and more things to be announced, hopefully.
Yeah, soon. Hopefully. I'm excited. Let's see, what else? John Rambo says, great question, Emily Nicole. Ted says, just to assist, according to IMDb, the Wong biopic is still in development with producer Nina Yang. How do you say her last name?
Bon Jovi.
Gemma Chan was the original choice to play Wong, but I hope they changed their mind.
I don't know if they're going to change their mind because Gemma Chan's also one of the producers. It's basically her pet project. She's a big Anna May Wong fan.
Oh, yeah. Because I think she dressed up as her for costume.
For the Met.
Yeah, for the Met. Ball. Yeah. Katari says she should have been cast in the lead for The Good Earth 37 and Dragon Seed 44.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think Anna May Wong also thought that too.
Emily Nicole says, in another life, I would really like just doing laundry and taxidermy. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's the
Sorry, I messed up the line. Philip says Anna May Wong should have won an Oscar for The Toll of the Sea, in my humble opinion.
Yes, it was before the Oscars. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
The Oscars started in 1929.
I don't remember. I think it was like late 20s, right? Or
yeah, I think it's 1929 because this year is the 95th or 6th Oscars.
I have to look
and we're only 5 years away from 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's probably 1929, I think, is when it started.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I remember it being in the late 20s. Yeah, it was. I don't think they had the Oscars back then. Ted says, I would have to disagree on one point. I feel Anna May Wong merited a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination for Shanghai Express.
Yes.
And
I would agree with that, yeah. But they didn't nominate her.
You know, I actually looked it up once. They didn't have Best Supporting Actress back then.
Oh, okay.
During that year.
I see.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I could be wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people thought she was really great in that film. And, I would agree with that. She should have, if they had that category, she should have been nominated.
I don't think they had that category back then. I'm pretty sure. If not, I'll eat my hat, which I don't have, but anyway. I think it's Song. I can't pronounce the German.
Geld or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Jim says, will it ever become on DVD or streaming?
I really hope so. This is like my pet project. So I've been in touch with the rights holder. I finally figured out who the rights holder is. And BFI does have a copy of Song. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to work with them right now to figure out like what would it take to get it like restored and digitized and then potentially released. Mm-hmm. So stay tuned.
Yeah, hopefully it'll work out. Ted says, Philip Kramer anime was outstanding in The Toll of the Sea, but that film was 7 years before they even had the Oscars. Yes, that's correct. Okay. Let's see. Is there any more questions? I think we read all of them, right? Or no?
Yeah, it seems like it. Would there be questions anywhere else?
I don't know. I think it's only working on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's It's working on... Sorry, guys. I think it's only working on YouTube for some reason. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oops. All right. Philip Kramer says, my bad, LOL. Ted says, Rebecca, you're quite correct about the Best Supporting Actress nomination not being around 1932, and I am eating my hat. Okay, let's see. John Rambo says, do you think the kinescopes of her Dumont network show might someday be discovered? It's hard to believe every copy went to the bottom of the river.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Yeah, it is
Mm-hmm.
hard to believe that that could
Mm-hmm.
be the only copy. I think that there have been rumors of certain TV researchers or archivists saying that they might have seen it at one point, but they're not sure. So I don't know. There's always hope that it'll turn up someplace. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I really hope so because my channel's named after a TV show. I'm like, it's like, what are you delivering? I'm delivering her other stuff, but not her TV show. But Jeannie, is it Jenny or Jenny?
I think it's Jenny.
Jenny. Jenny says, Katie? What's your next project?
Good question. I think it'll probably be something very different, not a biography. Not necessarily Hollywood related. I'm interested in exploring some topics around like mixed race identity or being mixed Asian specifically.
Yeah.
So I have been, for example, another woman that I got interested in as a result of the research on Anna May Wong is this author named Winifred Eaton.
Oh, I think I've heard of her.
Her sister was also so Winifred Eaton and her sister Edith Eaton were both half Chinese, half British. They grew up mostly in Montreal in Canada, but they both kind of traveled around the U.S. and were writers, even though they were like about 10 years apart. And they had different pen names. So the older sister, her pen name was Sui Sin Far. So she would write about the Chinese in America, and she would write about what it was like to be mixed race in North America. And then Winifred took a different tack. She actually recast herself as Japanese.
Oh, that's interesting.
And she would wear kimonos, and so she would write fiction that was about Japanese women. A lot of times they were also mixed race. And her writing actually was very, very popular. She became a bestseller. She had a play on Broadway. And she actually later wrote scripts for, I believe, MGM. So she was actually the first Asian writer in Hollywood.
Oh.
She and her sister were both the first like Asian American writers in general of North America.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, or first documented, like who were published in. So I'm interested in them, and they also write a lot about their identities and what it's like to be mixed, especially at that time was a lot different. So that's just something, that's kind of the topic I'm exploring. I'm not totally sure what form it's going to take yet.
And then I don't know if you're comfortable talking about it, but I know that you're mixed race as well. So would you mind sharing your like?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm half Chinese and I'm half Irish. Both my parents grew up in America, so my mom's, I would say, I don't know how many, I've never counted how many generations on the Irish side, but I think it may be slightly longer, because I know the first person came over during the Civil War.
Oh, wow.
And so they fought in the Civil War for the Union. And then on my mom's side, my great-grandfather was the first to come from Toisan to America. And then both of my great-grandfathers came over as young men to work here. So technically I'm like 5th generation Chinese American on my mom's side. So we've been here a long time. And I think the only person who still really speaks like the Chinese, like Cantonese or Toisanese, is my grandma. My mom doesn't really speak it, although she learned when she was a kid. And I learned Mandarin, which is not what my family speaks. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's different from
a little different. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Let me read the other comments. Lily says, fun fact, I'm also a Dragoneer, though I forget what element Y2K was. Saigon Joe says, do you think Anna May ever met Josephine Baker?
Yeah, that's also a question I've been wondering about recently, because I actually just wrote a post for Half Caste Woman about Josephine Baker and Paul Robeson, because they really paved the way for someone like Anna May Wong to also build her career in Europe. So I know that Anna May Wong went to one of Josephine Baker's shows in Paris because she has the program, which is part of her. Anna May Wong donated her collection of programs and playbills to the New York Public Library. So she definitely watched Josephine Baker perform. It's unclear whether she met her because a lot of the playbills that she donated have autographs of the people who were in the show, because I think in the beginning, or a lot of times, she would go backstage and talk to them and get their autograph. So for whatever reason, she doesn't have a Josephine Baker autograph. Doesn't mean they didn't meet. They could have met. I don't know. But I would assume that they might have also run in similar. I think they knew a lot of the same people in common.
Right.
So it seems very plausible, but that they could have been at parties together.
And
also, I'm sure they knew about each other, right? Because,
pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah,
they're like around the same age about, right?
Around the same age. They were both considered very exotic. And in that same post that I had, there's a cover of a German
I remember
magazine that has illustrations of both of them on the same cover. So I think they were also thought about in very similar ways as these exotic, they were American, but they were also representative of, Asia and Africa. And
it's very sexualized as well.
Yes, exoticized. They were this, people would project their own desires onto them.
Right. Let's see. Next question is from Ted. Something spicy. Okay. Just to add a little sex/controversy to this very polite Q&A. Anna May's father was worried she would be taken advantage by white men in Hollywood. Probably true with Todd Browning. Any others?
Todd Browning, McNeilan. It's like today, obviously she was underage, so that in itself is very problematic.
Right.
Did she give consent?
Only if she's underage, yeah.
Well, I guess you can't. Technically, you can't.
You can't.
Right.
Yeah.
And only Anna May Wong and the other person knows what happened. So, we have no idea what those relationships were, if it was like a casting couch situation where it's like, well, I'll put you in my movie if you do these favors for me. We don't know. We don't know what happened.
We don't know if it's grooming or
but it's definitely a little icky. So Todd Browning, Mickey Nealon. I think, I'm not super negative about him in the book because it turns out because there's rumors that they were going to get married. Right?
Yes,
But it turns out he also said that to almost every woman.
Yeah,
he was with.
He's like a womanizer.
He was like, I'm going to marry you, and that was like kind of his
MO.
Yeah, or like his flirt. That's how he would like flirt with people. He'd tell them he was going to marry them, and then it never happened. So that's kind of the way he was. Let's see, who else would in those early days? Those are definitely the first two. And I believe they're both buried in the same cemetery as her.
Mickey Nealon and Todd Browning?
I think so. I know at least Todd Browning is buried there.
I think Mickey Nealon is too.
Yeah.
Because he's close by to her.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I haven't been to the cemetery yet, but I'm pretty sure
I've never looked for anyone else's graves there, but I know Todd Browning for sure is definitely in that cemetery, and I think Mickey Nealon as well, because they were both, it's not, so they're both there, ironically.
Yeah.
Anybody else in those early years? Charles Rocher, she was of age by the time she had an affair with Charles Rocher. But, he was a lot older.
Yeah,
like I think maybe almost 20 years older.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He was a cinematographer, but she seemed to have liked older men.
Yeah.
You also have to kind of weigh things in context. Like, if you think even about her parents, like, her mother got married. Her mom was 15.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because, to get married, you can be, like, a teenager and get married and have kids already. So, like, to Anna May Wong, she thought maybe... Well, I don't know if she knew.
It's just a different cultural context.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's better or good. Right. I actually don't think people should get married at 15.
No,
but it was a different time.
Yeah, it was a different... I don't know how to describe it, but it was like different lifestyle.
The cultural norms were different.
Yeah. Not that we're condoning anything. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Disclaimer. Let's see what else. Going back. Okay, Philip asks, during your book research, did you interview any of Anna May Wong's family?
Yes. So I'm in touch with Anna Wong, who is Anna May Wong's niece. They never actually met because Anna Wong was born after her aunt passed away. But she did Anna Wong's father was Richard Wong, who was Anna May Wong's youngest brother, and he was very close with his sister. So they lived together until the end of her life. So he was really caring for her. He kind of, in a way, put his own life on hold until she passed away because he didn't want to get married, because he didn't want to leave her alone. So once she passed, then he got married, and his first child with his wife, he named after his sister. So Anna Wong's full name is Anna May Wong.
Oh, really?
That's her full name.
She's named after her aunt.
Yes, because he always wanted there to be an Anna May Wong in the world, so he named his daughter after.
That's very
her.
Sweet.
Yeah, so he was very devoted. So I spoke to Anna Wong quite a bit, and she would help me kind of gauge whether things felt, accurate or not. And she would tell me a lot of family stories. And she, she knew some of her other aunts and uncles who were still alive.
Oh, really?
She was very close to her Aunt Lulu. So she's told me some stories about her later years. Yeah.
And if you guys didn't know, Lulu's her oldest sister.
Older sister, yeah.
Let's see. Ted said, just a caveat, I am just asking about the period before she was a legally consenting adult.
Yeah, I think that we know of, it would just be Todd Browning and Marshall Nealon. And I think after that, I mean, there might have been others I don't know that are not recorded. But those are the two that I know of.
Yeah, it's a pretty difficult topic to talk about. Yeah. Let's see. Jenny says, Rebecca, what's your background, generational status, if you don't mind sharing? Well, my family's actually originally from Hong Kong, but I was born in San Francisco, so I'm technically first generation Chinese American. So,
I guess you could be second.
Second?
Because your dad is also here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he immigrated here, so does it count?
It depends on how you count them, but normally, yes, I would count him as first generation.
Oh, so I guess technically I would be second generation. Because actually, my aunt came over here first, and that was after they passed the law, the immigration law. 65 or what year was that?
The 1965.
Yeah. And 65, because before, some of you guys might know, may not know, but they passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, so a lot of them couldn't come over. Right?
Yes, but the Chinese Exclusion Act ended in 1943.
Oh, really?
But there was still a quota system in place, so very few people from Asia could immigrate here.
Oh, okay.
Until 19.
Sorry, I don't want to give you guys misinformation.
No, it's fine. But yes, in 1965, there was like landmark immigration reform passed by LBJ, and then it kind of opened the floodgates.
Right. So that's when my family came over. And my dad didn't come until like the 80s. Yeah, because I was born in 87, so I'm an 80s baby. So, and then my brother was born in the 90s, and then so we grew up in the 90s, and we live in the Bay Area pretty much our whole lives so far. And then that's pretty much it. My life isn't that interesting, but hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. John Rambo says, thanks both of you for your efforts in the Anna May Wong field. I've never attended any live chat on any topic because I just wasn't interested enough. This topic interested enough. All right. Tom Shane says, Jim Davidson, what does WRT mean?
I don't know what WRT means.
Oh, okay. We might have to look that up later. Question of song. An incomplete version of it is posted on YouTube. Steve, the 95 collector home movie version he found at a flea market under the title Show Life 1930. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I think that I haven't watched that version, but it is. I'm assuming that it must be the American theatrical release because they cut it down quite a bit. Because I think the original European version is probably about 90 minutes, and that one is about 50 minutes.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Huh.
I know it's like at least a half an hour shorter, but I haven't watched it, so I don't know what's different, or if they just cut down all the takes. So.
Maybe, yeah, because I don't think it's a full hour after you watch it.
Yeah, so it's definitely a shorter version, but you can still watch it, so it's great that it's there.
John Rambo says, Rebecca, love your Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Work? Oh, yeah. I thought he meant it's working, but I think he meant to say that you love my work. Thank you so much, because I work really hard on it. But
you do. Yeah. It's a labor of love.
Yeah. I don't get paid for it or anything, and I'm not sure if I will be in the future, but it would be cool if I could be an archivist. Yeah, but I don't have the degree for it, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, but you have experience now, so.
Right. Let's see. Jim Davison says, Tom Shane, thanks for the info. I'm aware of that, and I have seen the clips. Hoping for a complete release. Philip says, how helpful was her niece?
I mean, I think her niece was helpful for like context and for like, as someone who has never met Anna May Wong, there's still a lot of unknowns, and undoubtedly the book is my interpretation of documents and of research and of things that she said. So there is some guesswork, and as I think there would be with any biography, and so I think she was very helpful as a sounding board to make sure that like what I was writing made sense to her in terms of the story she had heard from her own father. And then she was able to share some of Anna May Wong's things with me. I actually was able to. So she recently donated these objects to the Smithsonian, but she showed me one of her makeup cases.
Oh, yeah.
And then also a cigarette case. And then some of her name cards that she used to leave.
Yeah, the calling cards.
The calling cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that was also really cool, and some family photos as well I was able to see. So, a lot of these things, it's like, sometimes journalists who write deeply reported books, they talk to people on background, meaning like they're not going to quote them in the book, but the information that they give them helps give them the full picture of how things happened, or what the family, in this case, what the family dynamic was. So I feel like she gave me a lot of background.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I'm glad she was helpful. Let's see. Oh, Katari said I missed something. How are Louise Brooks and Anna May Wong related? I think he missed that part.
Oh, they're not related.
Right.
Well, they're just happen to be actresses who were making films in the 1920s, who were both seen as flappers. And they also were both making films in Germany at the same time, at UFA.
Yeah.
And so that's really the extent of their relation. They just are both actors in the same industry, working in the same place at the same time.
Yeah, they're just very similar, but I don't think they
were friends. Yeah.
Although they're both interesting. It would have been interesting if they both met.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is, like, I think they were both very independent-minded and smart, very well-read and funny, but it doesn't seem like there was any kinship between them.
Right.
So.
Right. Let's see. Philip says, ditto with John Rambo's words. Emily Nicole says, I have to leave, boo, but just wanted to thank you both for such a fun Q&A. Can't wait for the book. Heart.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us, Emily.
Yeah, thank you. She probably left already.
Oh, okay, okay.
And we're just, because she posted that 107, but she might be still here. I don't know. Saigon Joe says, Katie, what was the most interesting fact you found about Anna May Wong in your research?
That's a hard question. What was
Yeah.
the most interesting fact?
Mm.
I don't know if I could say just one, but I think there were a few things that I found pretty interesting.
Mm.
What to start with?
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah, I would say. Well, so one thing was with Around the Good Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So most people have said that. Well, she said as well. She said that she was offered the role of Lotus,
Mm-hmm.
and that she rejected it.
Right.
What I found out, and I only have one source that says this, but it makes sense to me because no one was ever able to really confirm whether MGM offered her the role of Lotus, because MGM has never said anything about it.
Right. There's no official.
Right. And even in their script notes, they said, "Oh, we don't think she's young enough or beautiful enough to play Lotus convincingly," which casts doubt over the fact, this idea that they offered her that role. And so what I found was one of the gossip columnists, he originally also thought that she had been offered the role of Lotus, because that's what Anna May Wong told everyone. And then he writes in another column that he now has new information that she wasn't offered the role of Lotus. She was offered the role of Cuckoo, who is actually the lady in waiting to Lotus. So it's an even smaller role. A supporting role to a supporting role, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, according to that report, that's the role she was offered. Which, it makes perfect sense why she would reject that, because it's, like, completely insulting.
Right.
Completely insulting and embarrassing. And you can kind of see also that because even she has that famous letter she writes to Fania saying, "Oh, everyone's telling me I should take a role in The Good Earth if there's lots of money in it," and she's like, "No, but I think I'm still going to stick to my original plan and go to China." She wrote that letter on the same day she applied for her Form 430, which is to allow her to leave the country as a Chinese American. She wrote that letter on the same day she applied for that form so she could go to China. So I think she already knew what she was doing.
She already decided.
I think she kind of, I actually think it's very brilliant that she masterminded this really bad situation into a publicity thing. Because then she told everyone, well, they offered me this role, the Lotus role, and I rejected it. And that's actually, it makes MGM look bad.
Yeah, it's kind of like a power play, right?
It's a power play, yeah. So I, learning that, I was like, wow, this, she's so smart.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, and then
she went on to make the documentary film showing what real China is. Right?
Yeah, so it was part of her whole kind of like publicity, well, you know what, I'm going to do my own, story about China. So that definitely was one thing that surprised me. The other thing that came to mind was, and this is a little bit more sad, is that it finally occurred to me to look into correspondence between her friends, because friends talk about other friends.
Yeah.
So what are your friends
back sometimes?
Yeah. So what were her friends saying about her when she wasn't there? So Fania Marinoff and Bernadette Soldfritz were both friends with Anna May Wong, and they were also friends with each other.
Right.
And it just so happens that all of their correspondence is at Yale. So I finally realized, I need to go look and see what is in their correspondence. And I was there for 2 days, and on a archival visit, you're just trying to go through things as quickly as possible because you don't have a lot of time. And at the very, the last hour of the last day, I finally found something that mentioned Anna May Wong. I mean, it was very sad, but it was basically a letter in the 1950s about seeing her on her way to London, and how she was having lunch with Carl Van Vechten and another friend, but she was so drunk. This is during her period when she had become an alcoholic, and she was so out of it they had to carry her out of lunch. And then there was a whole kind of conversation between Fania and Bernadine, why is she doing this to herself, and it's really sad to see her like this, and because I personally also didn't really want to believe that that condition had gotten so bad for her, but when I read that, it was just well, if that's what was happening, then she had a problem at that point.
She never said that she had it alcoholism out loud, but
right, but
she struggled
clearly,
with
yeah, if that kind of thing was happening, yeah.
Let's see, what other questions? Let's see. Philip says, thank you ladies for being so welcoming at MoMA yesterday and doing the stream. I'm ordering your book today. Have a safe flight back home, Rebecca. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Let's see. Ted says, just so I'm not remiss, I want to quickly add my thanks to Rebecca and Katie for doing this chat. Really enjoying it. Looking forward to reading both reading the book and to whatever Rebecca has for us next.
Wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Right. Well, should we maybe wrap up or?
Oh, one more.
Is there one more question?
Yeah, no, not a question, but it's just Jenny is saying, great chat. Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you all for being here.
I don't know if there's any more questions. I don't know if the other platforms are working for us. I think it's just YouTube.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Well, thanks to everyone who's still here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly wanted to promo this thing that I
bring it closer to the screen.
So I've put together with an illustrator named Christina Chung a map of Anna May Wong's Los Angeles, and on these fun little postcards. And next week I'm going to be doing a giveaway. So if you enter by subscribing to Half Caste Woman and then following me on Instagram, I will send you a postcard. So more information about that to come.
Yeah. And then I'll put the links in the comments as well to her blog and all the information. Yeah. I think Jim says, thank you, Rebecca and Katie. Really enjoyed it. You're welcome.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, I think there's more messages. Okay. Saigon Joe says, thank you both for a great conversation. It was most enjoyable. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah. And then Tom Shane said, Soul Fritz story. Yeah, he sad face, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He had shocked, sad face, I think. Yeah. Let's see. All right. I think we're gonna give it 5 to 10 minutes. Or
just unless there's any other questions.
Yeah. We'll probably end it soon if nobody has other questions or comments. Let's see. I don't know if I should check my phone just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah. Let's see.
A lot of great questions.
Yeah, a lot of great questions. I had to really think about it. There's a good one. Ted asked, how long did Vincent Price and Anna May Wong have a fling?
I think it seemed like maybe a 1 week thing.
Yeah.
Or a 2 week thing. I think they were performing Princess Tornado for maybe 2 weeks max.
Yeah, in Connecticut, right?
Yeah. So, and the way that it was written, it's written about in his daughter's memoir of him, Vincent Price's daughter. So the way it was written about, it's like a 1-line mention. So it sounds like it was pretty brief. It was also in the middle of a time when she was going to see Eric Maschwitz in Hollywood. So she had just seen him in, I think, London, and then he was soon going to start his job at MGM in LA. So yeah, maybe I think it was a very short fling.
Yeah, it was very brief. I don't think they had much overlap, right? Other than that.
Yeah, I think it was probably just that,
week or two. Yeah. Tom Shane says, bye, thank you for your presentation very much.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. They were in, Ted says, they were in the 37 production and turned out together.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Um, Philip asks, "What are your thoughts on the movie yesterday at MoMA?"
Yeah, I mean, I love Pavement Butterfly. It's definitely one of my top 5 films of Anna May Wong's. It's been incredible. This is the second time I've seen this specific restored version, which is really beautifully done.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the cinematography. I think this is also a good parallel to Louise Brooks because the film that she made, Pandora's Box, kind of resurfaced in the U.S., I think, in the 60s or 70s. And people now, like, think that that's one of the best silent films made in that era.
They praise it a lot.
They praise it quite a bit. And, I mean, part of it is because of the German cinematography, because they were really talented and very artistic, much more so than Hollywood. So, personally, I feel like, the films that Anna May Wong made in Europe, especially Pavement Butterfly and Song, are really her best, and almost no one has ever seen them, which is such a shame. And I think that they would, at the very, if Pandora's Box is one of the best of the silent era, then I think so are Anna May Wong's. And so I'd really love to, for people to recognize that.
Or even convert to some people who are skeptics to actual fans. Because I had some people comment on YouTube, "Oh, she's not that great of an actress. She's, second rate or whatever, or third rate even." I'm like, well, you haven't seen her best films, so how could you judge if she was a good actress or not? You're just seeing her in films that don't make her reach her full potential. And I feel like she met her potential in Pavement Butterfly because
they respected her as an actress, and they gave her the lead role, and look at what she can do when she's given the opportunity. But Americans didn't see it that way,
right? And I think I remember for Pavement Butterfly, because it was towards the end of the silence of them, like, being silent. They started talking in the movies. Yeah. So they kind of dismissed it because, she's not talking in it.
Right. They were already on to the next thing.
Right. Yeah. Right. So they just, like, dismissed it because she's not talking in it. But was it a good film? Still be a good film even though she's not talking in it. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see if we got any more questions. Ted says, "Great picture of Price and Wong in Victoria Price's biography of her dad."
I wonder if that's the one where they're in costume.
Oh, maybe. Saigon Joe says, "I believe Anthony Quinn had a fondness for anime. I remember a Dick Cavett show where he talked shortly about her."
Oh, interesting. I wonder if that video is available someplace.
I think it's on YouTube.
Yeah? Oh,
yeah,
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen the whole clip, but I think Dick Cavett holds up like a film still or something.
Oh, okay.
From a movie. I forget which movie it was, but yeah, he talked about it briefly.
Yeah, I mean, she and Anthony Quinn were good friends, and he was also friends with his wife, Catherine DeMille. So yeah, they were friends for a very long time, and because they end up doing so many films together.
Yeah, like starting from the 30s to 60s. Yeah. Let's see. Philip says, "I agree, Anna May Wong's German films are far superior to any of her films from Hollywood."
Yes.
Yeah. Although I do like Daughter of Shanghai.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not on this exactly. You can't really compare it because this is talking film and it's like a different genre.
Yeah, and the production values are totally different. But it is definitely, I think, as someone said earlier, it's like good camp. Yeah. It's definitely pretty. It's kind of funny, especially in the action scene at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Jim says, "I think Anna May Wong was just as good an actress as Marlene Dietrich, but wasn't given the same kind of quality roles."
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, Joseph von Sternberg did everything for Marlene Dietrich. Like, he's the one who made her a star. She had this giant contract before no one in Hollywood had ever seen her films. And she was just signed to this huge contract.
Like, sight unseen, I guess.
Yeah, and she was given a Rolls Royce and, fancy Hollywood home. And, they rolled out the red carpet for her. because Joseph von Sternberg told them to.
Mm-hmm.
And then he coached her. Like, she didn't read the script.
Oh, really?
He just told her what to say.
Oh.
Every single take. He would tell her what to do. So, yeah, I mean, you know, obviously I'm a little biased.
Right. Right.
But I think she had a very different experience than Anna May Wong did in Hollywood.
Mm. And I'm saying this as a fan of both of them because I like her in her films as well, but still kind of biased because not that I prefer her over Marlene Dietrich, but I like if you had to choose between the two, I'd pick Anna May Wong. Yeah. Let's see. Saigon Joe says, no more questions. You guys did good. Thanks. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, and whoever's left, I forgot to show people.
Oh.
Wait, can you see it?
I don't know if they can see it.
Well, anyways, Anime, I can't do it because it's backwards. I'm confused. But anyway, Anna May Wong is on my scarf.
Yeah. Her head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's basically like old Hollywood stars.
Mm-hmm. And Marlena's on here too someplace.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining our live. Sorry for the technical difficulties and some of you guys weren't able to ask questions, but we'll go back to the other platforms and try to answer your questions if possible. Yeah. Yeah,
thank you so much for like such detailed, specific and like amazing, like very thought-provoking questions. It was fun.
Mm-hmm. Same. All right, bye guys.
Bye.
Let's see. How do I